Buckets. Hello and welcome into episode 32 of Two Man Game with Damon and Dom. I'm Damon, that's Dom, and you are the listener. Before we get into it, would like to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube. And if you're on Spotify, if you can leave 5 stars, pre-download the episodes and all that, that would be great. Gets us out there, gets the word out, and we want everyone to see this amazing, awesome content. It's been about almost 2 weeks since we recorded last. We pre-recorded an episode because Dom had a fair bit of traveling to do, and that was our award show. And now we're here. It's Monday, April 15th as of this recording date. The season is over. Play-in starts tomorrow. There is a lot we have to get into and talk about, all things basketball related. But first, the most important question. Dom, how are you?
Thank you for asking, Damon. Thank you for the amazing intro that you always do, I might add. I think it's because you are the button clicker. You're like, we are starting now. So there we go. But thank you. No, I'm good. I'm tired. I just got back from Coachella. I think I mentioned that I was going on the last pod. I was working, but it was nice because I was working and I could still see the stages. So I got to see a lot of people that I wanted to see. Most importantly, I saw Blur. That's all I really cared about, and I cried like 3 times, so it was perfect. Um,
Woo!
yeah, woo! And I also went back home for some family stuff, and I was able to see the eclipse, total lunar eclipse, crazy, absolutely crazy. I
That's
knew
wild.
people that I knew people that were flying there like months ago that were gonna fly and travel just to see it, and I kind of thought that's too much. And then I saw it and was like, it totally makes sense to me now. I was like, I was
But
wrong.
but
I
yeah,
was
you
wrong.
didn't come here for the eclipse. You just happened to be here as it was happening.
Yeah, it was just a coincidence. So it kind of
And
worked
you
out.
saw me.
I did see you, and I also saw a very good friend, which I might as well just reveal right now that I am wearing a present that my friend got me, the Mamba, my friend Saul. Shout out Saul, friend of the
Shout
pod,
out,
obviously.
Saul.
Mamba 24 jersey. You can't really tell, but it is like the Mamba kind of reptile
Textured, yes.
snake texture. Yeah,
I
and
didn't realize that the B was an 8. I kind of hate the way that looks, to be honest, but um
yeah, well, it was a
the
gift,
rest of
and
it
I
is
love
cool.
it. It was a gift, and I love it.
I mean, it's a cool jersey, no doubt, no doubt.
No doubt, no
I
doubt.
just
It's
didn't
actually
realize when I first saw it.
it's also only the only Lakers jersey I have. Well, it's not really a Lakers jersey, but it counts. That I own that fits me. So thank you,
Wow.
Saul. I appreciate the
Thank
gift.
you, Saul. I don't know where my gift was, but maybe it's coming. I guess we'll
Your
see.
gift, your gift is that y'all get to hang out, and I'm just over here in LA, just
Well, we
watching
haven't
y'all hang
done
out.
that yet either, so
And you'll get there. But yeah, but that was most of it. I was at Coachella working a lemonade stand, and it was really fun. I went with my guitarist Nico, shout out, and his sister, and
Nico, friend of the
camping,
pod.
friend of the pod.
Does he
I don't
listen?
think he has Apple Music, so no.
He's not my
And
friend then. Never mind.
uh, and we had a good time. We had a camp. Camping, not my thing, but the festival, I had no. It was so fun. So
Did you have power
um,
when you camped?
no. So
So I could have been there.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, I think I was kind of saying like, you know what? I would go back to Coachella if I didn't like have to camp,
You're
basically.
right.
That's the only thing that was the worst thing about it. And but even then I was glad I went through it, and I have the bracelet, so I was showing off. It's my staff bracelet actually. So
How long does
within
that
the
last on the hand?
I'm gonna take it off almost immediately. I just have to show it off tomorrow, and then it's going somewhere. I don't know
In the
where.
trash, or are you keeping it?
I'm gonna keep it for sure. It's my first music festival ever. So
Hmm.
highly recommend. It was really fun. It was a really fun time
Should
for
be
sure.
noted you were working, but not as the band, as people on the podcast may think that are listening.
Yes, no, I was squeezing lemonade for the beautiful people at Coachella, and drinking a good amount of it as well
Lemonade
because
sounds god awful when it's hot. Like just the
um
sour flavor of it sounds bad.
the one we had was pretty sweet and it was very good. But I will say that if it's hot outside and you're not drinking water, if you're drinking anything except water or Gatorade, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
So so it's like people were like, "Oh, I want lemonade. It's so hot." It's like it's going to dehydrate you and you're going to want water, but do it, do you? So
This podcast is sponsored by water.
sponsored by water. I got my water bottle right here. and I'm going to recycle it because I'm not psycho. But almost as important as recycling to me is how you are. How are you?
Almost. Recycling
Almost.
beats me out again.
Yeah, because the world. No, I'm
Damn
kidding.
you, Earth.
I was trying to, I couldn't figure out the wording. I was trying to say that recycling means just a tad less to me,
Ah,
you.
there
But
it is.
I figured out I did it wrong. But
Take that,
um,
Earth.
take it and like it.
Yes, thank you for asking. I am doing well, as well. So I also experienced the eclipse. I was actually at work. We had a whole work event. I'm a teacher, of course. We ordered glasses and went outside. We canceled because the way our school is set up, it's a private school. It's almost like college hours. So the classes during that time period, like where the eclipse was happening, were canceled. So we were just like outside, all with glasses, craning our necks way up in the sky. It was a little cloudy, so it kind of came and went. But the coolest part was definitely seeing the totality. When it perfectly lined
That
up, like seeing that through
yeah,
the glasses, I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy!" I got a couple pictures of it, of course, because you gotta take pictures of stuff like that. But I definitely sat there and looked at it first for like 10 seconds, and I was like, "Whoa, that's cool." And then I took pictures of it after.
it
Um,
really is like awe inspire like not I don't
yeah,
know inspiring, but you really just can't react. You're almost just like stuck like a deer in headlights looking at it. It was
yeah, it's one of those things
crazy.
that's like you have to see it. It's
Yeah,
hard to explain. Like it's you can take it's like like it's not like this, but similar to going to like a concert. It's like you can film a concert and show it to someone. It's not the same as being at the concert.
for sure.
Um,
Yeah,
but obviously it's kind of a event that only happens, every so amount of years or whatever. So it's rare, which kind of adds to the awe of it, I think.
yeah,
Because if it was happening every day, I'd be like, okay, but it only happens every, 20 something years. So,
yeah.
but yeah, that was really cool. And then I was not at Coachella, but this past weekend we had a student versus staff basketball game that I've talked about on this podcast before. So I wanted to talk about that really quickly. Basically, we rented out a facility because my school is very small, doesn't have any sort of gym or anything. And then we went there, and there was, I think, 14 students signed up to play. Mostly, I think, 11 high schoolers, 3 middle schoolers. Um, and I think most of the high schoolers were juniors or seniors too. And then there was 9 staff members. Myself, friend of the pod, Jared, who has listened a lot, obviously, and then some other teachers in my school as well. I don't think any of them listened, so sorry, no individual shout out for you. But
Come on,
um,
teachers.
it was 4 10-minute quarters, which I think is kind of the standard format for a lot of middle school, high school games in Texas, at least.
Yeah,
And it was cool. It was a whole event that we kind of spent months planning. I had a sound system, and we had a couple kids that are like kind of naturally humorous do commentary, which was kind of fun. And we
that sounds
had,
fun. You
yeah,
and
we
I wish we were in school. We could have done that together. That'd be so fun.
yeah, this one student had some fake ads that he created. So during like timeouts, he was like reading fake ads. It was silly. And they're really funny. Um,
Did any of them do a bang or a hotter than fish grease or anything like that?
Not quite. It was mostly just like and he scores, and I
Okay,
I wasn't
fun.
so I was gonna get into this. I played the entire 40 minutes. I didn't sub out, um, naturally, and
Up to you, or no one wanted to come in.
up to me. I told him before. I was like, I'm not coming out of this game, by the way. And I mean, we needed it for the most part. We're all pretty gassed, but um, what I was gonna say is I wasn't really focusing in on the commentary a lot when you're playing, like it's
Yeah.
happening, but like I was not listening to it. I was just trying to play. Um, but yeah, and then we had some other students. We had a student operate the scoreboard. We had a student that was like documenting fouls and stuff, like a notebook. Um, they were supposed to do stats and stuff too, but they did. And then we had a couple other students that were refereeing, and they basically just called zero fouls, which was not great because I kept getting smacked by students all game, and
Hey,
obviously
it's
I
your word against
I
theirs.
wasn't going to complain because I was like, oh, I'm an adult and they're students, like
You
whatever.
didn't do the LeBron, just like, come on.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of obvious ones that like the whole game stopped and we're like, okay, that was clearly a foul, guys. We're gonna stop the game now and like address what just occurred.
Yeah.
Um, but it was fun. Beating around the bush here. But at halftime it was 27-25. The students were up 2. And then going into the third quarter, five new students who hadn't touched the floor came in, and the teachers were huffing and puffing still because we're obviously, older and out of shape and all that. And they just ran away with it in the second half. I think it ended up being like 64-36 or something like that. Like we scored like 8 points in the second half or something, and they scored like 30. So second half was tough. We definitely ran out of gas. And some teachers and students were complaining about the no foul calling and blah blah blah. And I was like, well, at the end of the day, we just ran out of energy, and I don't think anything could have changed that. So,
Yeah, it's
um,
supposed to be fun. And did you have fun?
oh yeah, I had a lot of fun, and all the teachers had
Good.
fun. All the students had fun. Our principal was like, "This is a great event. We're gonna do like two of these a year, like of like different sports, like rotate different sports in and out." So it
Like
was the first
flag,
time.
yeah, like
Uh,
flag football. So,
Flag
yeah.
football, dodgeball, kickball. Some ideas have been thrown out there, but yeah, it was the first event of its kind at our school, and everyone really liked it. And there's a lot of family and friends there to watch too, so it was a good turnout. And all the other teachers that didn't play but were watching were like, "Oh yeah, I was my eyes were glued the whole time. It was so fun," and I was like, "Okay, great." So ultimately, it was a success, even though we came out with the loss, but it was a good time for everyone. So.
And it was your idea, right?
It was my idea. I was the sponsor of the event. I made all of it happen. I organized the whole thing. Um, but yeah, it was cool.
Very cool. Well, I'm glad to hear that you had a lot of fun. Sorry about the loss, but it's I mean they're kids and they're they have so much energy, and I feel like no matter not like no matter what it would that's the way it would have gone, but you know they just have so much energy.
I forgot to
So
mention I'm wearing different pair of glasses because my glasses got broken also during the game.
during the game, are you
Yeah,
serious? Did you
yeah.
have the extra pair with you?
No.
Did they call a foul when they got broken?
No, so basically here's what happened. I went for like a classic Damon move, like a free throw hook shot.
Yeah,
Something that I've done many times in my basketball playing days.
yeah.
And there's a student who is not really a basketball player, but he actually played really well. But
Hmm.
he's 6'5", and he reached over and kind of just clobbered me like right in the head, but
Yeah,
no foul call, of course.
of course not.
And then I landed, turned around because I was like, okay, they didn't call a foul, but I'm gonna like get ready to play defense. So I like turned around, was kind of on the ground, stood up and like started running, and there's a kid standing right there, and I just ran right into his shoulder, and my glasses, like
Um,
the handle of it, like flew up and like kind of like almost broke off. So basically, I was wearing a headband, and I just tucked my handle into the headband and like played the rest of the game that way.
oh my God, that's some Kobe stuff right there. You're like breaking a finger and just
Yeah,
popping it right back in.
apparent. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember who it was. So sorry if you're listening. I didn't credit you. Someone said like when they watched that happen, it looked like it was in slow motion. Like they were like, "Oh, what? That was so weird." And my
At
glasses like
least,
flew off my face.
yeah. Well, at least you weren't seriously injured, and the kid wasn't injured either. I guess that's most important. But
My
that
eye
is pretty
really hurt
funny.
for a little bit.
I
Um,
also believe that,
and they were
and
like, "Do you need to sub out?" And I was like, "No, I'm good."
I said I'm playing all 40. I'm playing all 40.
I wanted to get through all 40. I wanted to.
Yeah, I get that. Well, speaking about good ideas like the staff game, what are you wearing? What is this that what good idea, what good shirt are you wearing or jacket? I was trying to segue. So
32 episodes in, we haven't figured it out.
I'm
Carl Anthony Towns episode? No.
I was exactly gonna say that. Or let's
Shaq
say
episode?
Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson. Yeah, Shaq wore 32 for the Magic. He got
Yeah.
retired, right?
They did retire him in
This
Orlando,
season.
and I remember we talked about that, and you're like, he only played there. Anyways,
Yeah.
that's
Anyways,
an older
anyways.
pod. Go back and listen if you didn't
Go
hear
back
it.
and listen. Yeah, I'm wearing a jacket that I thought I had worn before, but I went back and looked and I hadn't worn it. I was surprised, but it's a gray and black Rockets Letterman. Has the little stripes in the sleeve, which I always really like. It has 67, which is the year the Rockets became a franchise. Just a couple little patches here and there, you know. Um,
Yeah, it's cool.
yeah, and we already went through what you were wearing. Um,
Yeah, we don't need to go over that again.
don't need to go over it.
But you know what we do need to go over just real quick, just to end it.
What's that?
March Madness.
March Madness. It's April 15th, but let's talk about the end of March Madness.
Let's talk about the March
It's
Madness
been a bit.
because it's been a week or two.
It
So
was madness.
it was crazy. April insanity. So the Yukon Huskies defeated Purdue 75-60. I was able to watch a little bit of this game. I was hanging out with Saul
Yeah.
and in Austin, and I caught a little bit of the game, and it kind of looks like just a blowout to me. So yeah, UConn beat Purdue, and doing so became the first school to win back-to-back championships since Florida in 2006 and 2007.
Name
So
one player on that Florida team.
okay, here we go. A Gator. I don't
Uh,
know.
here, I'll give you some hints, okay? One of them, Bulls center that played with Derrick Rose. One of them,
Oh, Joakim Noah.
yeah, Joakim, but sure. One
One
of
of
them
a
we're gonna
Noah.
talk about later because he scored 50 points off the bench in NBA, and one of them plays on the best team in the East right now.
Wait, Malachi Flynn was on the. He's that old? I thought it was like 22.
Not Malachi Flynn.
Okay, anyways, we're gonna talk about that later. Wait, do you want me to guess, or are you just giving me hints?
I was just giving you hints. It's up to you.
I don't know, so I'm just gonna keep going unless you want
Okay.
to say it. Okay.
Al
So
Horford. That was Al Horford is the I said best I said on the best team in the East, a big man on the best team in the East.
okay.
There's three players.
Porzingis. No, I'm kidding. We'll talk about the other one later because I want to be surprised. Now I'm like thinking, I'm gonna probably
Okay.
think about it as we go through. Anyways, so UConn has now won 6 national championships since 1999. So Zach Edey, that's the name I knew that I've heard about. He had 37 for Purdue, only made one three-pointer, and he shot 1 for 7 in the game.
No, no, no. That's a different stat. That was their team.
The team only
Yeah.
made one three-pointer?
Yeah. They don't shoot threes at Purdue. Zach Edey is like
Absolutely not.
7'4" post center, so like,
Yeah, it was strangely worded. I thought they, because we didn't know what he identifies as.
right.
So now I know. It was the team shot 1 for 7,
Yeah.
which is crazy. But congrats to the Huskies. Congrats to UConn. We'll see if they can three-peat. That'd be crazy. That'd be insane. Has any team done a three-peat?
I don't know. I know Donovan Clingan, I think is his name, the center for UConn, declared for the draft. So they'll have to
Okay.
they'll have to, replace him and
Yeah.
probably some other people, I imagine. But this does wonders for recruiting. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I know the coach Dan Hurley had a pretty good like post game press conference. He was like, "Yeah, we win here at UConn, so you should come here," basically. Um, which I
They
I thought
can't
was
can't get
interesting.
can't get any better than that. I mean, if that's what you want to do, then I guess
But
there you go.
that's the men's side. Over to the women's side. The South Carolina Gamecocks defeated Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes 87-75 in the women's national championship game. They finished their season 38-0. It is the
Crazy.
11th
Crazy.
undefeated season in WNCA history, in Division One at least. In the last 3 years, they have a total record of 109-3. Uh, and they have won three championships overall as a school, all with Don Staley as their head coach. He's very, very famous, obviously now. And that was in 2017, 2022, and of course this year, 2024. And it was a revenge game because last year they lost to Iowa in the Final Four. And then in the post-game press conference, Don Staley shouted out Caitlin Clark and was just like, "Oh yeah, she's doing great things for basketball. She's awesome." So she definitely gave her flowers. And yeah, I think, no one was really talking about this team because of Caitlin Clark and her kind of, takeover of the college scene. But undefeated is crazy. 109-3 in the last three seasons is also crazy. And then
Crazy.
of course Caitlin Clark, WNBA draft went number one to Indiana. So shout out to Indiana for being the whitest place ever still.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, congrats to South Carolina. That is a crazy stat. 109-3 in the last 3 seasons is insane to me. But congrats to them. Happy for them. And Iowa had a really good run. Caitlin Clark. I mean, they all have a bright future, so super happy for all of them. Moving on
Keeping
a
on
little
the
bit to
college
some,
scene.
yeah, exactly. So some NBA draft news. So Bronny James, you know Bronny James? Have you heard of this name?
The name sounds familiar. Sounds almost like LeBron James,
It's
perhaps.
close. It's
Okay.
close. Yeah, he's related somehow. I don't
Oh,
remember.
okay.
Oh yeah, he's his son. So
Oh,
Bronny James playing one season at USC this year, declared for the 2024 NBA draft, but while maintaining college eligibility and entering the transfer portal. Super interesting to me because I think you told me that this happened, and I said I've never heard of this. Is that a thing? And you said for LeBron James' son, it is a thing. So, um,
Yeah,
interesting. I mean, honestly, I didn't see. I was not impressed by his season. He didn't really do too much. He also got injured. I also, yeah. So I don't
yeah,
know.
he had the heart stuff early
Yeah,
on. Didn't have like an amazing season.
yeah,
I think he's just keeping his options open. I know I read into this a little bit. USC, where he goes right now, is having a fair amount of new talent come in, so that may, lessen his opportunity. So entering the transfer portal makes sense. It's not a thing that used to be in the NCAA. You used to have to just kind of stick it out where you are. Now it's like,
yeah.
oh, you're maybe won't play me, or I don't like you as a coach. Well, I'm going to transfer and go to this school instead, and they will play me. Which didn't used to happen in basketball. It used to be a kind of a football thing, but not as much of a basketball thing.
Hmm.
And declaring for the draft, I didn't know you could do that and also like still be in college. Like you're kind of somewhere in between, uh,
Yeah.
which is interesting. I think declaring for the draft means he'll probably get drafted. I think because this is, I think historically supposed to be a weaker draft class coming up. Uh,
Okay.
and just being LeBron James' son, it's like, yeah, we'll spend pick 57 on you
Yeah. Like,
because
why not? And then we'll work on you, and hopefully, yeah.
we'll get LeBron over here.
Yeah, somehow, we'll convince him he wants to play with his
Join
son.
the Wizards, LeBron.
Come on, you want to.
We have
That
Jordan Poole over here.
Yeah, well, it is very interesting. And I remember this season, I remember I was watching like Arizona and the name Caleb Love came out. And I was like, oh, he was on like North Carolina last year. And then that's when I learned about the transfer portal and all of that stuff, which I guess makes sense. It seems like that's putting basketball first and education second,
Mhm.
which I'm okay with, I guess. So, um, but I mean, yeah, we'll see where Bronny James goes in the NBA. I'm curious.
Yeah, I also want to point out the scene has definitely changed for NIL deals because now college athletes get paid. That didn't used to be
Yeah.
the case. So some players that are not going to have high draft prospects actually might make more money just playing in college.
Hmm.
Especially, we already moved past this, but especially in the women's side, I think some people, thought Caitlin Clark wasn't going to go to the draft because she was probably making more money at Iowa. Because WNBA salaries are like not even a million, like
Yeah.
250K or something like that, really, really small. Um, so obviously by being like the face of college and at Iowa, she was probably making more money than she's going to make next year, and she had another year of eligibility. So I think some people were surprised by that. So yeah, it's
Well,
interesting.
at the end of the day, what it's about? Not money. It's about passion. It's about what you love.
Yeah,
And I'm glad that she's choosing that, And
yeah,
and guess what? Now she's going to be the face of the WNBA. Oh, you
yeah.
know,
She
because
was.
I can't really name any what WNBA players. I know I went to some games, but I've forgotten the names by now.
I can name quite a bit. I did want to point out too. I totally forgot to mention this. During the Caitlin Clark, the Iowa UConn game,
Hmm.
there was that controversial screen at the end that people it was called a moving screen on UConn that kind of ended the game, which I think it was a moving screen, but the timing of the call is I think what was questionable. But during that game, they were doing like a overview of I think it was Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, and Brianna Stewart, who are like three really, really good WNBA players who all came from UConn, and they're all kind of trashing Caitlin Clark, and they're like, her legacy will not be good if she doesn't win the championship. Like we all won championships. And I pointed out, I think it was last podcast that UConn had won like in women's, they had won like
Yeah.
11 championships since 2000 or something because their school is just like super good. So I thought that was a little unfair, but now she can go fight them in the WNBA, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's a little trite. That's not really necessary.
Yeah.
Because guess who I see in State Farm commercials? Not Sue Bird. That's all I have to say.
Wow. Take
Am
that,
I
Super.
trash talking Sue Bird? I mean, I love Sue Bird, so I'm not really trying to. But yeah, it's good for her. She went to Indiana, and her and Tyrese Halliburton. will be a great Indiana backcourt.
Right. Um,
Yep,
but
that's how
yeah,
that
we
works.
were on Bronny James, talked about his heart problems a little bit. Another person with heart problems I wanted to talk about, because obviously there's a lot of people declaring for the draft, but this one I thought was a good story. Grand Canyon's Tyon Grant Foster, who has had multiple heart surgeries, has declared for the 2024 NBA draft. He had been cleared to play, and he lives with a cardiac defibrillator, just like in him at all times, basically.
Hmm.
Um, but last year at GCU, he was the WAC Player of the Year and led the school to their first ever win in the March Madness tournament. He averaged 20 points and 6 rebounds this season. So just a good story. Someone battling through adversity, multiple heart surgeries. NBA is probably not what well, not what your doctors are going to tell you have in store. So for him to kind of get through that, win Player of the Year in college, lead his school to a tournament win, for a small school like that, that's pretty huge. So
Yeah, good for him. I'm excited to see where he goes. I remember hearing about Grand Canyon University winning. Who'd they beat? If you
no
remember?
clue, no clue.
Yeah, my bracket is somewhere, and I don't know where it is.
My
It's probably
bracket is
already
somewhere
out.
and very wrong.
Yeah.
Except I did have
But
UConn and Purdue championship, but I had
that
Purdue
is,
winning, so I was wrong.
well, that's okay. And I was trying to think of a segue and I couldn't. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about the NBA now specifically.
We're done with the college.
On the things I definitely know way more about and can contribute to. Just a little bit of a Lakers update. We're just
Uh,
gonna do a quick Lakers Rockets update. So, Lakers into the season strong at 47 and 35. They managed to fight into the eighth seed. Toward the end, they were ninth. Most of the time, Warriors were 10th, and they were kind of battling it out. So now they only need to win one game to make it to the playoffs officially. Um, to kind of sum up the end of the season, Anthony Davis got hit in the eye by Kyle Anderson very early in the Timberwolves Lakers game. Not on purpose, but it happened.
yeah,
It was on a very cool putback dunk, and then Kyle Anderson went, yeah, just right in the eyes too.
take
No,
that.
it was a very awesome putback dunk, but he got hit in the eye, and then he was out the rest of the game, and we were winning pretty handily, and then we lost that game. And then he didn't play against the Warriors, and we lost that game. But then,
Ouch.
we ended up the season beating the Grizzlies and Pelicans, and also things worked out. Like Kings lost a few games, and um,
Warriors lost.
Pelicans, Warriors lost, and
Uh,
Suns won. So a lot of things I think we'll talk about it just happened that worked their way, and there were tiebreakers involved. So Lakers ended up at the eighth seed. They beat the Grizzlies and Pelicans at the end of the season. So not, impressive wins by any means, but it's going to be a rematch tomorrow, which we'll talk about later.
yeah. And talking about the Rockets, they had their 11-game win streak. I did the Jaws theme. No, you did the Jaws theme. I talked about the Jaws theme, and then you did it. I said they're coming, they're coming. You said yeah, they're coming. I said yeah, probably not though. And then they lost 5 games in a row. So they officially were eliminated from playoff contention after that, with a couple games left in the season. The Warriors started playing really well as well, to kind of secure that 10 seed. And then down the stretch, we had some victories that didn't really matter against teams like the Magic, the Trailblazers, and then the Clippers in the last day of the season. Jalen Green kind of came back to earth. He didn't play super well. He was on that hot streak during the win streak, and he kind of reverted back to whatever. So we ended up finishing 41 and 41, exactly 500. And then, just to end the season on a little light positive note, in the fourth quarter of the Clippers game, Boban was like gesturing at the crowd because a lot of NBA teams do, free stuff if the other team misses free throws. So Boban missed 2 free throws on purpose, so that the fans could go get free chicken. So, and then the commentator was like, "Oh my God, he's letting the fans get chicken." It's like really silly. Um, but yeah, that's the Rockets season. That's enough of the Rockets. I'm done talking about the Rockets. You won't hear about the Rockets until we talk about the offseason because they're not in the playoffs, and I'm sad.
It's well, I think the Rockets should be very proud. It was a great year, very different than last year, I have to say. And I'm excited for them to be in the playoffs next year because I do think it's going to happen.
Certainly not the future that the Wizards have, so that's good.
Yes, exactly. That is very good. Moving on to a few signings real quick. We're just gonna kind of rattle some off. So Luca Garza, excuse me,
Luca,
a
Summer
Las
League
Vegas
legend.
Summer League legend.
Summer
Oh,
League
do
legend.
not take the words out of my mouth. That's crazy.
Put him on the logo.
So he was on a two-way contract, but they made it into a standard contract, putting him in the playoff roster. He did play when Cat and Gobert were both out. He actually started, I think, while on that 10-day contract. So congrats to him for getting on a standard contract.
Right. And former Rockets legend Usman Garuba was his two-way contract was also converted by the Golden State Warriors. So he is going to be on their playoff roster. He is definitely not going to play, but he'll be there, stone hand supporting from the
There you go.
sidelines.
And Warriors legend Javante Green, who is now in the Chicago Bulls, was
Warriors
on a
legend.
10-day. He was on the Warriors.
When was he on the Warriors?
Wait, he was just on the Warriors and they let him go. Is there another Green on the Warriors besides Draymond right now?
I don't know. There was
There's
Jermichael Green, probably. I don't know.
That's who I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of JaMychal Green. So Javante Green, who was never on the Warriors, it's so funny because I just said like 2 minutes ago we're talking about the NBA, which I know way more about. It's just I'm human, guys. I'm human.
I'm
So,
only human.
and after all, Javante Green has was on a 10-day contract, and now he is signed on the Bulls with
Yeah,
a
he was on the Bulls last season too.
yeah, I those JaMychal and Javante sound very similar to me. So that's on me.
That's okay. Let's talk
Yeah.
about some of your favorite team. Some of your favorite team. Your favorite team, the
My
Los Angeles
favorite team,
Clippers.
our most interesting players we've talked about.
One of them is a legend to us. One of them, I don't like
Yeah.
talking about. But
Yeah.
the
No.
Clippers waived Josh Primo goodbye, who is playing for them in the G League, to bring in legend Kai Jones on a multi-year deal. He had just finished a 10-day for the 76ers, and he's going to be on the Clippers playoff roster. So, he had the summer league stint when we both saw him and we're like, he's so good. Then he had the crazy thing where he demanded a trade and got waived. And then he posted some crazy stuff on social media, and then he apparently got help. He shaved his head. Um, and yeah, now he's here playing basketball. It was so funny. The other day, I was looking at the Clippers Twitter, and there's a video of him just like doing like a selfie video. It's like, "What's up, Clippers?" Like, "What's up, Clipper Nation?" And like doing like a thing. I was like, "What the heck? That's so random."
They always do that. They're always so awkward. Like even Spencer didn't like those videos are so weird. Like Spencer Dinwiddie doing like Lakers Nation, Spencer here, glad to be here. It's just like that, and it's like okay, cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
So interesting. So if I make it to we'll talk about this later, but if I make it to a Clippers playoff game, I might see Kai Jones.
might see
Okay.
him sitting on the bench because that boy is not playing.
Yeah, absolute. Yeah, no, for sure on the bench. I'm gonna sit right behind him and go like, "You were great in summer league." I was big fan of summer league.
UT legend.
UT legend. I'm gonna go hug 'em horns. Um, I was going to say, talking about horns, the Phoenix Suns are. I'm just going to do segues that don't make sense because I like
I was
segues.
gonna say talking about actually, I always structure this a certain way. It's four segues. This one was gonna be talking about former Hornets legends.
Oh my God. I forgot he was on the Hornets. Like, you got to put
I
this
know,
in here
I
for me.
know, I know.
Yeah. So Isaiah Thomas, who's been on almost every team in the league, it seems, is on the Phoenix Suns, completed, I think, two 10-day contracts and is now signed throughout the playoffs. So
Yeah, we'll see if he plays
welcome
because
back.
they don't got players on that team, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But Phoenix Suns also extended Grayson Allen, 4 years, 70 million, which is going to keep him to the 2027-2028 season. He is averaging this season 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists, shooting a league high 46% from three. So he has been awesome for them this year as a floor spacer, which you definitely need guys like that when you have star players with the ball in their hands. You need someone to kick it out to, and he's been, one of the best in the league, obviously. Um, Owner Matt Ishbia put out a projected payroll of 206 million with another 104 million in the luxury tax. That would be the largest tax bill, the highest payroll in the league next year. So it's going to be a very expensive team. But extending him was important because of the new second apron rules that are coming into play. Once you get to like a certain point of the payroll, you basically can't sign anyone. So you have to keep the guys that are already there. So,
Yeah,
this was a kind of an important move to make. They may have 5 players on their roster in 2 years and have $0 and sign only minimum guys, but they kind of already did that anyways. So maybe they'll make it work. And he's been, a bright spot for them because I think some of the other guys like Eric Gordon, other guys they signed to kind of fill that similar role, Josh Okogie, like they haven't quite
yeah,
worked out. But Grayson Allen has been, really good. Should be
yeah.
a good sign.
I was a little I was a little uh taken aback by it. It seemed like a small contract. Like I feel like he could get at least 20 million somewhere. But maybe he's probably happy playing with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and he likes being in Phoenix, and he wants to compete, so it's definitely a good place to be. So that is a um, I mean, good place for him. He's doing good stuff with them, and just don't trip people, Grayson, and then maybe we'll talk positively about you. So,
Right.
and talking about people that like to talk positively about
Or people that were also extended.
people, yeah, I knew that was a thing, but I wanted to do something. I want to do my own thing. I want to
I
do my
we
own
do
thing
we
for
do
this
talk
one.
positively about this player quite often.
Yes. So Drew Holiday, Pelicans Bucks legend, who's
76ers.
current 70. I didn't know
He
that.
made an all-star
76ers.
as a 76er.
That it was a dark period for me. I don't even remember it.
That was like
Um,
2013. It was a long time
yeah,
ago.
I did not pay attention in high school at all to basketball. He's on the Boston Celtics now, and I definitely know that. So he agreed to a 4-year, 135 million contract extension. So he'll be declining his $37 million player option. So he'll be signed through the 2027-2028 season. This is important because it's going to keep the Celtics less expensive next season while keeping the core intact. So Drew Holiday is the fourth player age 33 or older to receive a fully guaranteed deal worth more than $100 million.
Can you name the other three?
Not off the top of my head.
Just
Kyrie.
just guess. Kyrie's not even 33 yet.
Oh, I thought it was 33. LeBron.
LeBron.
3 times. I'm kidding.
Other
Kevin Durant.
Nope. I think he had some I think he signed 2-year deals recently. He signed some shorter deals.
Wait, is this in
Uh
history or playing right now?
in history, but they're all currently playing
Oh,
because,
okay.
the
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay.
uh another Pacific legend
Another
who's been on one
Pacific.
team his whole year, or his whole career rather,
Oh my
who is
gosh.
in the play-in,
Um,
who is a guard,
on what team?
who was on the Warriors.
Oh, Steph Curry.
Steph Curry. And then
Dude, as soon as dude, I told you divisions are out I have to look them up every day. They mean nothing to me
you
because they
live
seem
on the
so
Pacific
scattered.
Coast.
No, but the thing is, like, Portland isn't in the Pacific Division, and
That's
it's in
true.
the Pacific Northwest. Are you kidding me?
It's in the Northwest Division though.
Yeah, but it's the Pacific Northwest, not just the Northwest. Dude, let's not get I'm getting hot right now.
The other person, Al Horford.
Yeah. Are you serious?
Yeah. Teammate
Damn,
Al
we
Horford.
love We're just talking about Al Horford all the time here. But talking about Al Horford,
Nope.
got some good nights. We had some good nights to talk
I
about.
I looked this up actually. So yeah, I wanted to highlight some things that happened in the NBA during our absence in the last 2 weeks. But I wanted to talk about not just a good night, but 10 good nights in a row for Jalen Brunson. The last 10 games of the season, he averaged 38 points, 8 assists, and 4 rebounds. Shooting
Crazy.
some absurd efficiency as well, and carrying the New York Knicks. And I know we'll do this later on in another pod to the 2 seed in the East. They end up finishing at 2. So without Julius Randle, who we'll get into that in a bit, um, just playing stellarly. I think when we did our awards show last time, I had Tatum at that fifth spot of my first team All NBA, and Brunson was my first guy on second team, and I may have to think about that a little more now because
Yeah,
he
that
really showed out.
that is insane. And definitely carrying, the Celtics is definitely a full team effort, and they are that good. When you're on a team that good, you don't really need to play as hard. But Jalen Brunson playing out of his mind to make I was surprised when I checked in and I saw that they were the second seed because I thought it was locked Celtics Bucks for sure.
Yeah, the
And there's
Bucks
another
lost
reason.
to like the Wizards and the Magic and like some random teams down the stretch.
Another reason why I'm kind of glad that happened, which I'll talk about in a second. I'm glad that the Bucks are the third seed because the matchup is
Oh
going to be a good
yes.
one.
Oh yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Um, Talking about something else, which is crazy. A player I mentioned, or you mentioned, um, that I also mentioned, Malachi
Okay.
Flynn. Yeah, Raptors Knicks legend, who is now on the Pistons.
There you go.
Malachi Flynn dropped 50 points off the bench for the Detroit Pistons in a loss against the Atlanta Hawks.
Only the Pistons can do that.
Okay, but still, that's crazy off the bench. So Flynn was plus 14 in the game. He's a third player to drop 50 off the bench in NBA history, which is crazy because he joins the names Jamal Crawford, legend, Hall of Famer, I think, or at least should be,
Will be.
and Corey Brewer, who's a name I know. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer, but still crazy.
The other person on the Florida Gators 2006, 2007 team.
Really? That was him?
Corey Brewer. Yeah.
Oh, that's the one. Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense. And a
Rockets
funny
legend.
stat, absolutely. And a funny stat that you sent me was the next game against the Grizzlies. Do you want to guess how many points he made in that game?
Um, 3.
You know what? You're really close. He was 0 of 12 from the field.
He actually
So
he actually did score 3 points. He shot 3 free throws.
I was going to say he made 3 points, but he made zero from the field. And I'm really glad you didn't include how many points he made.
Yeah,
That was great. I appreciate that.
you're welcome.
Something
Not
else
talking
that we
about the
appreciate.
Grizzlies. Uh, GG Jackson dropped 44 points and 12 rebounds in the Grizzlies' last game of the season against the Denver Nuggets that they lost. But
Okay, I was gonna ask. Okay.
yeah,
I feel like the Nuggets. I remember we're gonna talk about it, but I know they needed a win or something like that. Um, and one of my favorite players, Anthony Edwards on the Minnesota Timberwolves, he dropped a career high 51 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds in a comeback win over the Washington Wizards.
yeah, they were kind of getting killed by the Wizards, and then Anthony
Yeah,
Edwards was like,
yeah.
no, actually, we shouldn't lose to this team.
I,
Wait,
I, yeah.
wait.
Wait, no, 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 no. I watched the highlights. The one when I had one day when I came back from Texas and then immediately went to travel to Coachella and I watched the highlights of that and it's just insane his progression of like literally leading and carrying a team over, and they were down, I want to say at least by like 17 at one point, if not
Yeah,
more, and just being a leader, not just someone who's like trying to get buckets. Like those 51 points came, he was not searching, like he was getting those like organic. So you love to see that. So very proud of them and of him as well.
yeah. And speaking of the Timberwolves taking over that team, their player that used to be the guy, Karl Anthony Towns, returned to the lineup for the Timberwolves against the Hawks on Friday, April 12th, after tearing his meniscus back in early March. So Cat is back. I know when we did our power rankings, I had the Timberwolves, I think, all the way down at like 12, and you had them all the way up at 4. And a big reason I had him so low is because I wasn't sure. And of
Yeah,
course, just coming back, I think it's good coming back in the regular season, getting to ramp up a little bit. I know it's not that much, but like he got a couple games in before now they're going to be off for about a week while the play-in is happening. So yeah, it's good to see that he's back on the court. I think he's really important to what they do, especially on offense. And with him and Nasrid, it's like you always have a really, really talented shooting big man on the floor at all times, and that's difficult to game plan around. So
absolutely. Especially, if you have one really good defender, you can't have him in the whole game against, both of them. So
right.
Um, I'm glad to see that he's back and healthy and ready for the playoffs because this is going to be a very fun and interesting playoffs this
Oh
year.
yes,
It's very
yes.
exciting. And talking about a player who also returned from an injury. Well, we're talking about injury returns, but Trey Young returned for the Atlanta Hawks against the Hornets, and he's been out since late February because he had a torn ligament in his finger. Good to see that he's back. They're definitely, I think, a better team with him on the floor. So good to see that he's back, and I'm sure they're getting ready for the play-in game.
Dejounte Murray been cooking without him though.
I know. I mean, it is an interesting situation they have in Atlanta, which I think we'll
Make
talk
a
about in the off
choice.
season.
Make a
Yeah,
choice.
for
Listen,
real. Yeah.
and then yeah, not a star, but another important player that returned was D'Anthony Melton. He had only played 3 games since the All-Star break, but he actually returned on April 9th to the lineup for the 76ers. And I think something that makes him really important, there's a stat that I came across, I believe is Tyrese Maxey, D'Anthony Melton, Tobias Harris, Nicholas Batum, and Embiid, that lineup of 5, which hasn't played that much because they've Melton's been out and Embiid has been out, obviously. But when they did play, they had like a plus like 10 net rating or something crazy like that.
Wow. That is
So
crazy.
that's a strong lineup. So if he can, I think he's kind of coming and going from the lineup. They're still managing that injury, so he's not 100% yet. But if he can, play consistent minutes in the playoffs, that'll be really big for them. They have, a play-in game that we're going to get into after we go through all the news as well. So
Yeah. Well, welcome back to Anthony Melton. That's very cool. Very excited to see
Grizzlies
him on the
legend,
floor. What? Who's legend?
Grizzlies.
Of course. Of course I knew that.
That's where
Duh.
he was before like this year.
No, of course I knew that.
The
Of
way you're
course.
saying it is not convincing me.
No, I knew that. Dude, I
It
knew
actually
that.
gets worse every time you say it,
I
I
knew that. What are you
think.
talking about? We're talking about injuries. We're talking about some interesting injury fines that happened. So the NBA fined the Philadelphia 76ers $100,000 for inaccurately reporting Joel Embiid's availability in the first game back against the Thunder. So he was listed as out in the initial injury report, and then he played the game.
Right. And what's
Yeah,
interesting is that the NBA fined the Knicks $25,000 for the same exact thing, but for Mitchell Robinson, who was listed out, and his first game back because he had been out for several months. He ended up playing in that game. So 2 players, both out for a long period of time, both listed as out, both came back. $75,000 difference in the fines, which I don't really understand. Is it because Embiid is like a star? I don't know. But yeah,
I
so.
don't get it either. And I mean, if I have to guess like why there's a fine for something like this, I'm going to assume it's because when you list the players out on the injury report, the other team is not going to try to game plan around. They're going to
Right.
game plan. Oh, Joel Embiid's not playing, then we don't have to worry about the shooting big. And then they all planned it, and then he's playing like what we just. Oh, okay, got to improvise.
Yeah, I think I mean, both of these guys, like we said, were out for so long. I think you just kind of list them as out until they play. But perhaps it would have been, as they're ramping up, getting closer to possibly returning, they list them as doubtful. And then, upgrade them to questionable, probable, and then, oh yeah, they're playing. So, maybe that was the move. But I guess having them listed as out, like you said, totally, is inaccurate because they
Yeah,
played. So clearly they weren't out.
yeah, and if I have to guess about the fine, I think you touched upon it, like why it's more. I think having to plan around Embiid on the floor is more effort than having to plan around Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah.
Just yeah,
It's just interesting that
but
like
I
the
don't. I
name
think
of
it
a
should be a
player would,
flat. Yeah,
yeah.
no, I agree. I agree. It's interesting to be okay. So he's good at this, but not this. So maybe we should do this for this team and this for. It doesn't make sense to me. But talking about
It's
the
like
Knicks.
it's like getting a ticket for speeding. It's like you're speeding, here's your ticket. But like you were speeding a little bit more than that person, you
Oh,
get more money. Is that how it
yeah,
works? I don't
except
know.
that this is really, it is. I know from personal experience. Well, not my experience, but other people's personal experiences. But it's interesting because that's not really that at least is a very valid, like you were 20 miles over a speed limit, but this is like no, Embiid is this much better. Like do they use 2K ratings? Like,
Yeah.
oh, he's 95 in 2K, but Briz Robinson's 89, so it should be a
He's
50,000 or
made this
whatever.
many All-Star teams, so the fine is going to be this
Yeah, it's like
more.
what that is very interesting. But talking about Mitchell Robinson, talking about the Knicks.
Yeah.
So after 2 months of rehabilitation, Julius Randle, who's on the Knicks, obviously, he's getting season-ending surgery for his dislocated right shoulder. So doctors warned him that playing with the current instability would likely lead to further injury. So it is unfortunate that the Knicks will not be getting their power forward, all-star caliber power forward. But the Knicks have been doing pretty good. So I don't know. I'm glad that he's choosing his health over the game. and that he will be able to come back next season, fully rejuvenated. But um, what do you think about this as a blow to the Knicks? Do you think it's not a good thing? It's never a good thing, but is it can they make it a positive thing? Silver lining?
I mean, first of all, you gotta shout out Julius for trying to get through it, trying to muster up and say, no, just let me naturally rehab it so I can be back for my team. Because he was seeing the success they were having. So unfortunate he can't return, but like the doctor mentioned, and like you said, health comes first. You don't want to try to push it for this playoff run and then lead to a shoulder injury that makes you miss 2 seasons or something. So you know, it's whatever. It does suck for the Knicks, I think, especially in the playoffs when, the game gets slower and tougher, and more physical, having the secondary creator. If teams can, right now, basically, I think teams can kind of lock in on Brunson. Even though he's been playing out of his mind, I think the game plan is, okay, we got to stop that guy, and then like we'll stop what they're doing. If you have a secondary creator like Randall, it makes that a lot easier because then you have some other options. And then when you think about the matchups, right now the plan for the 7-8 is Sixers Heat. Um, Randall might be good against their team, some of their bigs, for either of those teams. So yeah, I think it's tough to not have him. I think it obviously, provides opportunity elsewhere. I don't think they really have someone that plugs in his role, though. I don't think they really have a secondary creator kind of guy on their team. I have a lot of guys that fill in the role well. OG with his defense. Dante DiVincenzo has been a great shooter. Josh Hart is very, hustle oriented, whatever. Um, but I don't think they have another guy that kind of fills that role of Julius Randle. So
Yeah, it's they did quickly, but I mean, obviously it doesn't have his height, but someone who can create. Not out there anymore on the Raptors, but they have been making it work somehow. They made it to the second seed, and we'll see what happens. But again, happy for him to be just get his health in order.
and yeah, while his season is done, we're not sure on this next guy, and that is Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Bucks, of course. In their win over the Celtics late in the season, he left with a calf injury, and then he ended up missing the remaining 3 games. And he's kind of being evaluated and treated daily. There's another report that came out today, actually, an update that it's a little doubtful he's going to be available for the game one against the Pacers, which you mentioned that series would be really exciting. I think they played 5 times this season. I think the Pacers beat them 4 of the 5 times.
Hmm.
A lot of that was early in the season, the in-season tournament. We had the game ball dilemma. We had the Tyrese doing the Dame time. We had all kinds of Pacers Bucks stuff. And I think back then, we said, oh, this has to be a series, and here we are. So, obviously we want Giannis, who is, if I had to guess, is going to finish fourth in MVP voting, right behind Jokic, Luka, and Shea. Obviously, you want him in the game, so hopefully he is better. I know he kind of has a history of being like a superhuman healer. Like when they won the finals, he like super hyper extended his knee, and people were like, "He's done, it's over," and then he was back like 2 games later.
Dude, that was crazy. I remember watching that live, and I was just like, I could not believe he was back. Like, I think the next game, he was just back, and he came
Yeah.
back that game. I was just, it was crazy. And it looked terrible. But I hate to hear that because I want, obviously I want all the players to be in full health, and I want to because this is going to be a good series. Pacers, Bucks. It's going to be really fun. Missing Giannis is going to be tough for the Bucks for sure. But as long as he doesn't miss more than the first game, at least they are at home court. They have home court advantage, so maybe they could use that to their advantage. But um, I hate to see it. I hope it's not more than one game. I hope he is back, like you said, that he's a really fast healer, and hopefully it doesn't get worse. But I hope he comes back sooner rather than later, so we can have the best series possible.
Yeah, and we're not going to get to all the playoff matchups this time. We'll dive further into those later this week. We're just kind of doing a lot of the news we missed, and we're going to get into the play-in at the end here. But yeah, I'm excited. Later this week, I assume 3, 4 days from now, we'll have to do the playoffs once the plan's over because the playoffs start
Yeah,
this weekend. So,
yeah, it's gonna be very fun. I'm so excited to set aside time. Like, yeah, I can't do that. I'm busy. I have to watch the Lakers in the
sorry, I have to
playoffs.
watch the Lakers Thunder Western Conference Finals. Hold on,
Yeah. Oh, okay. I like that. I like that. We'll
that's
we'll get there.
not going to
This
be
is
my prediction, by the way.
this is future talk. I know it's not. Don't worry. I know how you think. Um, But just before we get into play in, because very exciting, just some last minute league news to kind of go over. So Steve Clifford, who is the Hornets head coach, is going to be stepping down at the end of the season. Well, I guess the season's over. So he stepped down and they're finalizing a front office role with him in the organization.
Taking the
So
Brad Stevens move.
yeah, exactly. So
Um,
we'll see who becomes the coach. I mean, they have young players. Maybe they'll get a developing coach to,
yeah,
you
they've
know,
announced some people that they kind of want to interview, some random assistants that I don't like super know.
yeah,
I just didn't think it was even really worth mentioning because it's like, oh, we'll just announce it when they hire that person.
yeah,
But Steve Clifford noted, what I want to note about it rather is that never really a rebuilding type of coach. He is a
yeah,
very much win now coach. So I never understood that hiring. So
yeah,
glad the Hornets will have somebody else next season.
yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of rebuilding teams, the Detroit Pistons, after having the worst record in franchise history, Jared told me that today, by the way. Um,
Wow.
I think I want to say it's like bottom 10, I guess, percentage wise, worst records
Yeah,
14,
14 and
14 and 68.
68.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have announced that they're hiring a new head of basketball operations and will begin searching immediately. So Troy Weaver, who is their general manager, was in charge of basketball operations, and he's still going to be the general manager, but they're also going to hire a head of basketball operations separately. So I
Do you
think
know, is that usually how teams are? They have two separate people, or is it
it
one?
it depends. A lot of teams have it's kind of one way or the other. Like at the Rockets, I believe Raphael Stone is the general manager and he does the basketball stuff too.
Hmm.
Some teams, like the Mavericks, for example, and Mark Cuban was the majority owner. He did a lot of stuff with the GM because he's like very involved.
Yeah.
So like I think it kind of depends on the organization. But yeah, some people have president of basketball operations, then some people have general managers, and then there's I don't know how where the duties of one and the other kind of overlap,
Yeah. I guess they do what's
separate.
best. Yeah, what's best for the organization, whatever works for them. So
Yeah, I don't think
we'll
there's any
see.
cut and dry kind of like, oh, this one does this and this one does this. I think they
Yeah.
kind of work in tandem.
It's a bit more gray area. Well, yeah, well, hopefully whoever they hire will work out for them so they can be a bit more
I
competitive and
I'm
whatnot.
glad that Troy Weaver is staying there because a lot of times when places or when organizations hire new general managers or something, they're like, I didn't draft any of these guys. I don't want any of these guys, and they just like
Yeah,
they just like wipe the slate clean. That's what I was trying to say. Um, and I think the Pistons. I know they had a bad season, but I like a lot of their players. So
absolutely. I think there's a lot there, and I think they're going to learn from the season and just work on it and make it better. Maybe not playoff contention, but better than 26 game losing streak,
the
I
NBA
think.
is so good.
It is so good, and I love it so much. And that's why this hurts for me to some league news. That was a good segue. I like that one. So, Jonte Porter, who we talked about last time or the pod before, brother of Michael Porter Jr., who was accused of basically, I don't know, rigging him betting
Yeah,
basically on himself and missing shots and things
betting
like that on
unders on
purpose.
himself.
Yeah, which is just insane to me. So Adam Silver came out
Who's Adam Silver?
Adam Silver's the NBA, the commissioner of the National Basketball Association.
Oh, that guy seems important.
He's a very important guy, and he had a statement about that. And he said that if Jonte Porter is accused and proven that this occurred, that he was basically rigging bets on himself. He said it's a cardinal sin. It's a quote, and if it's proven, he could be banished from the league, which is very serious. I
Dramatically.
think I think it is that serious of a. It takes away the integrity of the game, and that's what's beautiful about sports is that there is a sportsmanship kind of integrity involved within. And no one likes to throw a fight or throw a game, or no one likes to know that that happened, right? You want to win based on skills, and it's a chess match. You want to win that way. So, um, I don't. Has any player been banished from the league?
Um, ban banish is a strong word. I don't think so. I know Tyreek Evans was suspended for like a year. I don't even remember what for. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't. I think players have kind of been blacklisted almost. Like Kevin Porter Jr. is kind of going like that's kind of happening to him right now. Uh,
Yeah, and I
but
know that, and also like I was just like the whole Malice in the Palace, like that whole like there was like long suspensions for certain players. Ron Artest, I think, was kind of like Meta World Peace was kind of blacklisted a little bit after that too. So
Yeah, I think those were more like under the table though, and this is like I'm coming out and saying like this is like a
yeah, this is
announcement, which I think is good.
different
Uh,
commissioner too, so it makes sense.
yes, I think it's good for a couple of reasons. The first reason is I think a lot of people, conspiracies or whatnot, think that sports are rigged anyways. So this is something showing like, look, we're like we take this really seriously. Like we won't like this is like a PR thing, I think.
Yeah,
And then the second thing I think that's good about this is it's Jonte Porter. So no one will care.
yeah,
It's like let me make an example out of this. It'll never happen again. It's not a star player. It's not something really important to the league.
right.
Um, which no disrespect to you, Jonte Porter, but you're not that guy.
You're not the face of the league, and
You're not Luca
maybe
Garza.
you're not Luca. You're not even close. Sorry. You're not a we didn't see you gambling in Vegas, so you're not close to that. But yeah, that's crazy. I'm very interested to see how this turns out and how they find proof of that.
Yeah. I'm also interested to see, something that we talked about last time, the Minnesota
Hmm.
Timberwolves ownership dilemma, how this resolves. Last time we made a joke, maybe it was 2 episodes ago, I don't remember, about Glenn
So
Taylor and his billions and walking on the court and saying, "Where's my billions? Give me my billions." And I thought that was so funny and humorous listening back to it. And I thought my theory was, you know what, Glenn Taylor is seeing this team being successful and he wants to hold on. And I said it's gonna ruin it because he's not gonna pay for the team. But the tables appear to be turned because actually it is minority partners Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lore who submitted financial projections for next season, and the payroll was going to be lower than it is this season. It was only going to be 171 million, which is a million lower than the luxury tax threshold. So they were not going to pay the luxury tax. And Glenn Taylor, the current owner, thought this was going to jeopardize their chance for a title, going for lower payroll, because then you wouldn't be able to keep all the players around. They already have Ant coming up with a supermax. They have Cat on a really large supermax too. I think Rudy Gobert on a really big contract. Jaden McDaniels got that big extension in the offseason. They just extended Mike Conley. Um, so it was actually Glenn Taylor is the hero. The 83-year-old man is the hero, not the villain that I thought he was. I thought he was like, I'm going to be cheap and you can't take my team away from me. But actually, they were trying to be cheap, and he said, no, we can't. So Glenn Taylor and his billions, he's the hero of the story.
we spoke too soon. Glenn Taylor, if you hear this, I you deserve those billions. I want you to keep them and keep the team beautiful and how you want it. Please accept our deepest apology. Anyway, so talking about the Hall of Fame, no,
Perfect.
that is okay. Going back because I didn't know any of that. That is, I'm glad that we have some physical instead of just tweets back and forth. Like this is like what is personal now. Well, that was the quote,
It's
right?
personal now.
Yeah, instead of things like that, and we have to kind of interpolate like what these mean. It's nice to see like, oh, here are files, reports that were submitted, and here's the
Right.
difference, and now you can kind of figure out um, for sure what happened and why. So, yeah, the Timberwolves are going to be expensive. They should be, and money should be spent because they're good and they have so much potential. And we'll see
Exactly.
what they do this year.
Take that, Alex Rodriguez. I always hated the Yankees.
Yeah, I've always been a not a Yankees fan, not really any. Yeah. Anyways, we're not talking about baseball. This is basketball. We'll talk about baseball on our other pod that we start when we get obsessed with baseball in like 25 years.
Listen to the 9-man game.
Oh, I like it. I like it. It has a ring to it. The nine-man game with Damon and Dom. And
Damon, Dom,
it'll be the exact yeah,
listen.
it'll be the exact same intro. It'll be the exact same, literally. Just like Dom throws the ball at the top of the diamond.
Damon hits it. Home run.
Homer. That's it. Yeah, so talking about basketball, back to basketball. So Vince Carter,
Huh?
Chauncey Billups.
Oh,
They've been elected to the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, class of 2024.
I want to also point out that Michael Cooper was in this class, which I don't really understand, but
He's huge. Showtime Lakers, big part.
sure.
I Hey,
Do you have any qualms about either Vince or Chauncey being elected? Do you think they're deserving?
absolutely. I have no qualms whatsoever. Vince Carter, iconic. Chauncey Billups, iconic point guard that I hated for a while because he would always end up matched up against the Lakers. Obviously the Pistons. Always ended up being matched up against the Lakers and famously beat the Lakers in the 2003 finals.
Or
2004. Oh, they won 2000, 2001, 2002.
yes.
And then, okay, anyways, that's fine. I'm not gonna focus too
Who
much.
won the 2003 finals?
I'm so lost right now.
That's a good question.
Anyways, so famously,
Probably the Spurs.
yeah, so Pistons beat them there, and then they were matched up against when he was on the Nuggets. I remember there was a Western Conference Finals, that went like 6 games again. So Chauncey Billups, really great competitor, and you want him on your team. And he's not on your team, you hate him. He's one of those players. Uh,
Trailblazers legend.
Trailblazers legend, very smart. I think he's a good coach, and I'm happy for both of them, and Michael Cooper too.
Yeah, definitely. And I know there's some other like random owners and people that I don't care about, but
Yeah,
yeah, Vince Carter, longest career in the NBA, I think 22 seasons, through 4 decades. Got drafted in like 89, played all the way to 2020. So technically played in four different decades, which is crazy. Obviously, there's the dunks, the highlights, but he was also an actual good player for like the
yeah,
Raptors, the Nets, and then he kind of became a role player for like the
yeah,
Mavericks and some other teams later in his career. And then Billups was kind of the opposite. He started off as like bouncing around. I think he was drafted by like the Hornets, and then he went to like a couple different teams before he landed with the Pistons. Won Finals MVP in that series. Then he finished with like the Nuggets and the Knicks and some other random teams. So yeah,
yeah,
two different careers, both great players. So yeah, no problems for me either.
yeah. Who else was inducted in the Hall of Fame?
My man Jerry West, who was already in the Hall of Fame twice, was inducted again. The logo, record third time. The only guy to ever be inducted 3 times. Why would you be inducted more than once? I don't know. Just add to the thing that's already there. Why do you got to do it again? Yeah, the first time, of course, isn't it was as an NBA player for the Lakers, obviously. Those early days against Bill Russell Celtics, and then he was a member of the 1960 Olympic team, which I guess all those players were inducted in the Hall of Fame for reasons unknown to me. But this time it was, of course, as a GM and consultant to teams like the Clippers. He spent some time with. So
Okay. Yeah, I also when I read that, it didn't explain. It just said he was gonna be inducted for the third time. It's like, why? It didn't
we
say
didn't
for
have anyone
what
else.
or
Bring
any.
them back.
Yeah, bring it. No one else deserves it. We're just gonna do Jerry West again. He's the logo. But I mean, he's a great player. He's a good GM. He was a good consultant. So, but I don't understand why it's like another induction. It should just be added to the one
Right.
already.
I'm sure
Um,
there's other GMs and consultants that deserve to be inducted over Jerry West for the third time.
yeah,
I don't
and
know. I don't
yeah,
really care about the Hall of Fame.
yeah. I mean, it's more of a status thing,
Yeah,
but
it's like you just say Hall of
players
Fame.
who, yeah, players who know they were good, know they were good and they were loved, and that's all that really should matter. But you mentioned the Olympic team. So Team USA, who's going to be playing in the upcoming Olympics 2026. Um,
Is it not this summer? I think it's this summer.
are you,
It's every 4 years, right? It's 2020,
yeah,
2024. The Winter
wasn't it?
Olympics is basketball. I think is in the winter one, I think.
No, no, but 20, we didn't have 2020. There was no Olympics because of the pandemic.
I think there was, it was just later.
It was
Because
in
I
20,
think I think people had were like stuck in that country. They were stuck in like their hotel rooms in between Olympics. I feel like I remember listening to this like somebody talk about this on a podcast. I think this is
I,
like literally just about like this is happening like right after the NBA season, I'm pretty sure.
because I remember watching what year was that?
Maybe it was a FIBA thing or
You
something
know
along
what?
those
No,
lines.
no, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I remember exactly what it was. I remember exactly. I remember watching Team USA playing France in the Olympics, and that was in September 2021.
Mm.
So it was so close to 2022 that in my head I was like, I guess it was 2022. So that's what happened.
Because the Dream
So
Team was like 1992, right? Or something like that.
90, yeah, 92, because I have a poster of 96 and it doesn't have Michael Jordan.
And then if you go
Um,
4 years, we get to 2024.
right, exactly. Yeah, no, you're totally right.
That's
But
how
I'm
math works.
explaining how I was wrong. But yeah, I remember watching it in the hotel room when my dad was visiting. We watched the final, the gold medal match, and it was Labor Day weekend 2020
There was
2021.
like 4 seconds of silence when we were both sitting here thinking that people thought they got a phone call or something while they're listening to this podcast.
No, we were just not on the same page for the first time in 32 episodes, or just not sure what year.
You can't prove it. Go back and listen to them all.
That's right, exactly. Okay, so this summer, 11 out of 12 have been confirmed. Let's get back to the facts.
Give me the list.
LeBron James,
Cool.
Steph Curry,
Yeah.
Kevin Durant,
Worthy.
Joel Embiid,
Awesome.
which is interesting because he was also qualified for another country, but he picked Team
Uh,
USA.
yeah, I think it's Cameroon.
Yeah. So I thought it was
Yeah.
interesting to
Yeah,
know.
because he wants a gold medal. That's why. So I was like,
And you know what? I don't blame him. Jason Tatum,
that guy's pretty good.
Devin Booker,
I don't like him, but he's talented.
Drew Holiday,
This one is interesting, but continue.
yeah, Anthony Davis,
Great season.
Anthony Edwards,
Showman for sure.
Bam Adebayo,
Uh, the FIBA team couldn't rebound or play defense, so
and
he does
Tyrese
both of those
Halliburton.
things.
He does, and then Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, we don't have there's one open roster spot left open. Do you have a player you want, or you think?
Yeah. There's obviously a lot of talent here. This is probably going to be the best Olympic team since that dream team that I mentioned. I mean, this is an awesome, if you had a list of top 20 players in the NBA, I think at least 10 of these guys are definitely on that list. Maybe probably not Drew Holiday with the point he's had in his career, but he brings the defense and the grit and that kind of thing, which you don't really get from your star players often. So it makes sense why he's on the team.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'm thinking Udonis Haslem can maybe fit in that spot.
dude, you and me, we're right back on the same page. We're right where we need to be. We need a hammer.
Thinking
That's what
Reggie
I've
Jackson,
been
he could fit in
saying.
pretty nicely.
Dude, come on. Are you kidding? He's perfect.
Clippers fan.
Clippers fan 01. Oh my. Please put the afro on the court. What I would give. It's red, white, and blue. It made perfect sense.
Oh my God. Um,
Yeah, but what do you think? 12th man on this team.
yeah, I mean, nothing immediately comes to mind. Like, there's not a name that I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe they wouldn't include that player. Actually, here, let me look at a picture of the standings here on my phone that I have saved. So, and by looking at these teams, it will jostle my memory.
I
Uh,
had two already that just like jumped out at me.
what do you
But
got? What do you got?
uh Kawhi Leonard, Paul George.
Yes, no Clippers representation. Paul George screams Team USA to me. I don't know why. Like he just feels like, yeah, like
Yeah,
obviously Kawhi.
exactly. That's
So that's a good one. I think that you can make an argument for. I was just looking at Donovan Mitchell. Um, I
good
think
one.
um
Also, I mean, on the same page, Jalen Brunson.
Jalen Brunson. That I was in the car driving home thinking of this, and that's who I thought of. I was like,
Yeah,
Jalen Brunson. Yes, thank you for reminding me that I even thought of him in the first place.
of course.
Um, you have the Pelicans guys. I don't know if either of them are like super worthy of consideration. Uh, if you're looking for more of that kind of fill in a role, maybe a Jimmy Butler. I know he doesn't, really care that much, it seems a lot of times, but I feel like he can fill in, that pretty well. As long as I think they don't go like I'm okay with Drew Holiday because, like you mentioned earlier, he's one of the more beloved players I think in the league. I,
Yeah,
I think everyone respects him. And I think when you're going against the Lucas and Shays and some of those other guys, you have a guy like Drew Holiday that you can throw on him, which can be useful. Try to slow him down. You're not gonna be able to stop those guys, but you can at least try to slow him down. Um, so
yeah,
yeah, I think as long as you don't, put like super unproven player or something, or like, I don't want to disrespect, but like, don't put 37-year-old Mike Conley on the on the USA team. I think even if it's like a lower tier all-star, like a Paolo or something, like that's whatever.
Yeah, I agree with you. A lot of names came to mind, but I realized that most of them in my head were not US. They're Slovenia or Serbia or Canada. So, that was Luka Jokic, SGA, obviously. I was like, where are they on this list?
Where's Andrew
Uh,
Wiggins? Why isn't he
where?
here?
Yeah, I was like, where's Giannis? Geez, all these players. Which is a whole nother conversation about foreign players. But yeah, I think just filling in because we got big men, which is nice because we didn't have any centers basically on the team, the FIBA team.
They brought like
And
Anthony Edwards and Tyrese are the only two people on here that were on the FIBA team.
yes, because I
They
remember
said get
us.
rid of all that
Wait,
trash,
maybe Jalen Brunson was on the FIBA team. I can't remember.
but he's
I
not
know.
on this team. Not yet.
Yeah, Austin Reeves definitely isn't on this team. He's just too young.
If you put Austin
Or
Reeves on this team, I'm gonna lose my mind.
no, 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 no.
That's the
I
kind of
wouldn't
player that I'd be like,
because
huh?
I don't think we need guard play. Like I think we haven't. I would say like probably just like a good like two-way forward or something like Paul George or Kawhi. I think that would probably make the most
Yeah,
sense.
I was like 2A4. Yeah, we got a couple of those.
A wing or
Um,
something. Yeah. So
yeah,
but yeah, I'm interested to see. I now that I know the Olympics are this summer, I I don't know why it wasn't even on my radar. At least we have basketball to look forward to this summer. That's awesome.
yeah.
Of course, I'll be rooting for USA and Lithuania, but
I don't have
uh,
cool heritage like that to root for.
so you can
I
borrow mine if you want.
Okay, I will also root for Lithuania
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Ignas Brazdeikis. Let's go, baby.
Thank you, thank you. Um, we need all the help we can get. We're a small country.
I
Uh,
I feel
but
like
yeah.
there are some people that listen to this podcast and we make references to obscure things like that, and they're like they don't really know basketball that well, so they're like, oh, who like let me look into who that is. And like, wait, who is this guy? Why does this guy matter? They don't. It's
Yeah,
just an inside joke.
they're fun. They're easy. I remember I actually was talking to a friend. I can't remember who exactly, but I recommended the
Fake friend, fake
podcast
friend.
to her, and she I asked her if she listened to it. She said, "Yeah, she listened to the whole thing." I was like, "What do you think?" She's like, "I didn't understand half of like the references that y'all." I was like, "Yeah, yeah," but I kind of explained like I think you understood half, which a lot of the other podcasts just kind of, are just very in the intricacies where it's like if you don't know anything, it's like about any current basketball, then like you're
Right.
totally over your head. So I think
We
we
do
do a
our
good
best
job
to
of like,
explain, yeah.
yeah, I think they're a good middle ground because I'm a great example of this. I don't know, I barely know half of stuff about the NBA, but I know at least how the game
I don't
works.
even
And
watch basketball.
yeah, I see. I watch it, and then you memorize all the facts, and then I say wrong things, and you correct me. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So
I actually spend
it's
most of my
yin and
time
yang.
watching lacrosse, so
Lacrosse.
this is a bit. I'm doing a bit.
Well,
It's
I
all a
was making
bit.
sure. I thought it cut out, but
Yeah, I said lacrosse.
yeah, because you love lacrosse. We talk about it all the time. Literally, I
Right.
call you all the time. We talk about it.
Yeah. Uh,
Well, besides lacrosse that we talk about all the time, we also really love talking about the play-in tournament and some predictions.
yeah, we talk about
So
the play-in specifically all the time.
specifically all the time. It's disgusting how often we talk about it.
I can't
And
wait for the play-in.
I want you to talk to me about it right now.
I'm going to talk to you about it right now. Yeah, play-in, I think, great idea from Adam Silver. This is year 3 or 4. I don't remember, but it's been very
Three, I think.
successful so far. I think a lot of good play-in things have happened. Famously, the LeBron shooting the three. I just saw three rims and I shot over the one in the middle. That that was like so stupid. But yeah, so the play-in this year was really really exciting, and what it's done here is the standings matter. The regular season matters. So before the last day of the regular season, which was yesterday, there had only been 5 seedings that had been actually confirmed. Four of those being in the play-in. Or no, two of those being in the play-in, sorry. The Celtics, Bulls, and Hawks were the first, ninth, and 10th seed in the East, respectively. The Clippers and Mavericks were the fourth and fifth seed in the West, respectively. So those are the only 5 that were known the last day of the season. Everything else was up in the air. So that is 1 through 3 and 6 through 10 in the West, and
That's
that was
17. Yeah, it's like 17 total.
yeah, 2 through 8 in the East. Like all up in the air. Lots of different scenarios. This team loses and this team wins and that team wins and that team loses. Like teams were sliding all over the place. The Magic, I think, with like 2 or 3 games left in the season, could have finished as the 2 seed or the 8 seed. Like they had that range of possibilities with just like 2 or 3 games left in the season. So it really mattered here down the stretch. Some teams, a couple teams, did rest some guys because they were like, okay, well, we think this is going to happen, so like we're not going to really play here. But some teams, they were going all out. I think some teams as well were trying to manipulate the standings, which I never really like. I know you don't really like either because you think, people should just go out there and win when they're trying to play, regardless of the scenario. You don't want to try to manipulate that matchup. Um, so yeah, I don't even know why they did that because, with all the possibilities, it seemed like something that was going to be really hard to do. So yeah, a couple examples here. The Bucks and Knicks had the same record at 2-3, and they flipped actually after the last day of the season. The Magic, Pacers, and 76ers had all the same record as the fifth, sixth, and seventh seed, and they finished as the fifth, sixth, and eighth seed. So the 76ers didn't even end up finishing as a seventh seed, and then the Thunder, Timberwolves, and Nuggets all had the same record at the top of the West as 1, 2, and 3 going into the last day of the season. And the Thunder ended up having the tiebreaker and winning, so they finished as the 1 seed. The Nuggets won. They didn't have the tiebreaker; they were the 3 seed. But the Timberwolves lost, so the Timberwolves finished as the 3 seed. Nuggets finished as the 2 seed, and then the Kings and Warriors had the same record as the 9 and 10, and they both won, so they stayed at the 9 and 10. So it was just like all over the place going into the last day of the season. So many different possibilities, matchups, but now we're here. We have a playoff bracket that we're going to get into next episode, but we do want to talk about the play-in first. What were your thoughts on all of that craziness going on here at the end of the season?
I thought it was insane, and there were so many scenario stuff that I didn't even look. I was just like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. It was partly a blessing that I was in Coachella, so I couldn't really check. I was like, whatever happens, happens. Let it be. I also just want to make sure you said that. So the 76ers are the seventh seed, and
Oh,
he
they
are
are.
eighth.
Oh,
Yeah, and he are eighth. Yeah, they're one game behind the 76ers. Just letting you know.
that's right. That's right, because the 76ers finished the season undefeated with after Embiid came back.
Yeah. But 76ers, Magic, and Pacers are all tied for 47 and 35, which is crazy because that's the same record the Lakers. I think this year has just been crazy. Just like looking at everything. But I have to say I love it. I really do. I think that this playoffs is going to be amazing for a number of reasons. We're getting Bucks Pacers, which is really fun. We're getting Mavs Clippers rematch again in the first, I think,
The
third time in the
trilogy.
last 5 years. Yeah, crazy, crazy. And we don't know. There's so many. You were talking about like purposefully losing. I'm reading a lot now. I was going to bring it up earlier, but I didn't want to because we were talking about the play-in. A lot of things I'm seeing now. Like, do you think the Lakers should lose purposely so they don't face the Nuggets in the first
I was
round?
going to get into that because that's been everywhere.
It
It's been
is
all over.
driving me
It's been all over
crazy.
ESPN and stuff too. They're like the
It's
Lakers should
so
lose.
we're gonna talk about it. It's ridiculous. Go out there and win, and whatever happens, happens, and play the game. Come
Don't
on.
mess with the basketball gods.
Just don't. Because then, the thing is, if you do that, then you're gonna perfectly lose against the Pelicans. You're gonna play the Warriors or something, and you're gonna lose. Like
Right.
that's what happens.
I
Like
also think,
just go out there and win.
like specifically, and I don't know if you're ready to get into Pelicans Lakers, but specifically that game. Yes, the Nuggets are waiting at the 2 seed right now, which is scary, right? However, if you're a team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, regardless of you finishing as a seventh seed, you have those 2 players in your team. LeBron is in his 68th season. You want to win a
Give or
championship.
take. Yeah.
So you're gonna have to play the Nuggets eventually to reach that goal. Stop trying to dodge them. Stop trying to be scared of them. And I think there are some teams that did that down the stretch. The Cavs actually ended up playing Pete Nance, Larry Nance's brother. and Isaiah Mobley, Evan Mobley's brother, and some other scrubs, and lost so they can get the 4-5 matchup with the Magic because they actually had a chance if they won and the Knicks lost and Bucks lost to take the 2 seed. The Bucks did lose, so if the Cavs won their last game, they would have finished as a 3 seed and they would have been matched up with the Pacers. But they I think wanted to lose, so play the Magic. So it's like I guess they think that matchup's easier, and I don't like that for them, and I don't like that teams do that. Like you said, just go out there and play the game to win.
honestly. And is
Especially you
it
think
yeah,
about us, like last year, the Heat made a finals run as the 8 seed, and they beat the Bucks, the Celtics, and the Knicks in the process, like three really good teams in the East. And I'm sure the Bucks were not afraid of the 8 seeded Heat at the time, but they probably should have been because they got knocked out of the playoffs by them. So it's not going to work out in your favor. So just play. You have to play who you play to get to the championship, which is the ultimate goal anyway. So don't dodge opponents because you're going to run into them eventually. Um, if you are aspiring that goal of getting the championship. So yeah, that's my TED talk. Thank you.
thank you for that. You said everything I feel, obviously. Just you're gonna play them eventually. Also, think about LeBron. Let's get into it. Pelicans, Lakers, seventh and eighth seed in the West. Um, we already mentioned it a little bit. It's gonna be played in New Orleans because New Orleans is the seventh seed.
Smoothie King,
Smoothie King Arena, which you said was the best one that you've been to
Smoothie
so
King
far.
Center. Thank you.
Um, yes, I'm wrong. Everything I say now is invalid. Um, but I also want to say, AD injury prone, LeBron old. So guess what? You face the Nuggets right now at full health. You have a better chance of beating them now than like what if AD goes down in the second round and then you see him in the Western Conference Finals. I'm like, just get it over with and try to win. I'm not saying they're gonna win, but do your best because you can.
Right.
Um, anyways, so my prediction for this game is I think the Lakers are going to win. I think they should win. I think there are a better team, and yeah, I don't really know what more to say. I think they should win.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I think the Lakers are absolutely going to clap the Pelicans' cheeks like they have been all season. They have had their number. They blew them out in the in-season tournament. They blew them out mostly. I think their record, if I'm not mistaken, is 3-1. And all 4 games, regardless of who won, have been blowouts. They play them really well. Brandon Ingram is still uncertain with his injury that he suffered last week or 2 weeks ago, however long ago it was.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm not even sure if he came back. Did he come back? Was he in that game? Do you know?
I have not checked it out. I
Even if
don't
he was
think
in that
so.
game, he's probably not fully healthy. But
Yeah,
um, I think the Lakers win this game pretty handedly. I would imagine. I just don't think. I think they just kind of have the Pelicans number. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, I think they will be the 7th seed and will play the Nuggets. And Anthony Davis, who's had I didn't include him in my all defensive teams last time, which I think was a mistake. I definitely should have put him on there. I think he'll play Jokic pretty well. Um, and then, you have good seasons from D'Lo, from Hachimura, from Austin Reeves, and you give yourselves a shot at you don't want to go in there afraid. I want to lose, so I don't have to play them. Like, yeah, you wanna try to take it to them right away. So, yeah, I
absolutely.
think they will handle business in New Orleans.
Yeah. And next round or the first round of the playoffs, totally different conversation, but New Orleans, think Lakers for sure.
I guess we should explain if you don't know basketball, the play-in tournament, 7 and 8s, they now play each other, and whoever wins that game is actually the 7th seed. And then the ninth and 10th seed play, and whoever wins that game plays the loser of the seventh and eighth game to see who's the 8th seed. So it used to just be top 8 make the playoffs. They decided to incentivize teams and prevent teams from tanking to add this play-in format. So now there's 2 extra teams that have a chance to make the playoffs. And we've had a couple good runs in past years from teams that were at the 9th spot or the 10th spot that ended up inching
Yeah.
into the 8th seed and being more competitive first round series. We mentioned the Heat last year; they went on that finals run as a play-in team. So
Yeah, and also the Lakers last year, they went all the way to the Western Conference Finals
right,
as a seventh seed. So,
right. So yeah,
yeah, it's fun. The play-in tournament is definitely a good one. And another really famous matchup is we're getting the play-in Kings Warriors.
last year's playoff first round matchup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, this is actually pretty easy for me. The Kings are down Malik Monk, and Kevin Herter. And I think Draymond Green is going to kick the chest of Domantas Sabonis right to the offseason, because I think the Warriors are probably going to handle this one. They beat them last year in the first round as the underdog. They're the underdog here again. They've actually been a decent road team this year, whereas last year they were like a horrible road team. Um, so yeah, and the Warriors have, I mentioned them earlier, kind of when I was talking about the Rockets. They've been playing really well lately. I think they're like 8-2 in their last 10 or 9-1 or something like that. Like really hot coming into the end of the season, because we were one game behind the Warriors on like April 4th or something, and they finished like 6 games ahead of us or 5 games ahead of us. Um,
8-2.
8-2, yeah. So they've been playing really well to close the season here, and I think with the Kings injuries, um, with Draymond, putting Sabonis in a headlock, I think the Warriors will take this game and play the Pelicans for the 8 seed. What about you?
I I agree with you. I think I really wanted to say the Kings, but remembering the injuries and Kings really slid down, into that ninth seed. Like they were pretty set 7-8 and then kept, losing and things didn't work out their way. The teams that were winning. So just kind of worked out that way. I think the Kings should be proud. It was a good season, but I think the injuries are just going to kind of kill them. And Warriors are hot, like you said. So I think it's going to be. It'll be a good game, but I think it's going to be Warriors for sure.
The beam will not be lit.
The beam will not be lit,
Speaking of, your
unfortunately.
room looks like the beam. Like it looks like the purple beam is
It's
going on in your
I,
room right now.
I was trying to do purple for Lakers, but you can't really make it darker. It's just like light purple, which looks like the beam. That's the beam. That's the famous Kings beam right here.
This is where it comes from,
That's
actually.
the one that every time they win,
Now
I'm
we
like
know.
sleeping and it turns on like, oh, Kings won. Cool. That's how I know. Okay, so with this logic, that means okay. So in our scenario, we're
Yeah,
predicting the Lakers will take the seventh seed,
right.
and the Warriors will beat the Kings. So now the Warriors will play the Pelicans for the
Yes.
eighth seed,
Back at the Smoothie King.
back at Smoothie King. And in this matchup, I think the Warriors are going to win and take the eighth seed. For all the reasons we just talked about. Pelicans have the injury with Brandon Ingram, but the Warriors have just been a pretty well-oiled machine in the last end of the season. So I kind of see them winning and getting that eighth seed.
Yeah. If you do think the NBA is rigged, having LeBron James and Steph Curry win the play-in is a way to kind of back your case. But I gotta agree with you. I think the Warriors win, and beat the Pelicans to take the 8 seed. Who's the best player in that game? It's Steph Curry. It's not very close. I think you have Draymond, you have Looney, you have Trace Jackson Davis for the Zion matchup. All guys that I think can play him decently. It's hard to stop Zion, but slowing him down, I think, especially with Ingram's health issues, their secondary creation is not amazing. Valanciunas has been getting benched late in the season,
I noticed that.
unfortunately. So
Yeah.
yeah, they've been kind of running lineups without him, with more Larry Nance at kind of the small ball five. I guess for I don't know, spacing, size, I don't really know, but yeah, so I don't know, what the Pelicans can really do. And it's sad to think about because it seemed maybe 3 weeks ago the Pelicans had the 5 seed secured and locked up, and then we were like, oh, Clippers Pelicans, that's what's going to happen. And Mavericks caught fire and passed them up, and then they fell into the play-in after the last couple days of the season, and now we're predicting that they're not even going to make the playoffs. So from 5 to 9, essentially, I guess would be the seeding.
Yeah. And I will say I prefer the matchup Mavericks Clippers because now I want to go to the game 100 times more. So
But there's no Lithuanian center there that you have a
l
shirt of.
look, you're right, but Luca. If only
Luca.
he was Lithuanian. No, what could have been.
Oh yeah, seems like we're
But
in agreement on the how the
yeah,
West is
so
going to go.
West, we got to figure it out. So I think at the end we'll just go over like the whole standings, right? Of just like where we think it'll end up.
Okay.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's head on over to the East real quick. So play in tournament, 76ers Heat in Philadelphia. What do you think?
Yeah, for this, this I think out of the four playing games is the toughest out of the four for me to choose. I think the other three were a little easier, but for this, it's hard to doubt the Heat based on the track record, based on last season. But also last season they lost their first playing game. And they barely won the second one. So I'm going to go 76ers. They've been really unstoppable with Embiid in the lineup. Like I mentioned earlier, undefeated since his return to the lineup. So yeah, I think Maxey, you have Buddy Hield now. You have Embiid. While Bam is probably one of the better defenders in the league for Embiid, there's really no way to stop Embiid, I think, kind of
Right.
what he wants to do. And then Maxi, I think there's no one on the Heat that has a shot at guarding him. He's so fast and so
Mhm.
crafty with the ball. I think Jimmy is a good defender, but he's a little big. Probably a little slow. Um, and then you got to factor the Kyle Lowry revenge game in there naturally. Um,
Naturally.
so
Game six, Kyle. Come on.
yeah, so I think the 76ers, they're just a better team. I know the only reason I think they're even down here is because of the Embiid injury. They slid from the 3 seed to the 7 seed. So um I'm gonna take the 76ers in this one. It's hard to go against the Heat based on their track record, even though their season hasn't been great, but I do think the 76ers have more overall talent.
Absolutely. This was also the toughest one for me. But for all the same reasons you said, I picked the 76ers. I didn't even know they went on a win streak at the very end when Embiid came back. I think they are hot right now. They're in a groove and they just want to win and make it to the playoffs and not worry about, another game or risking injury or anything like that. So I think the 76ers are going to win this game as well.
Yeah. But the other game, Bulls and Hawks. Ooh, so exciting.
Oh man, who could win this game? Bulls,
It's
Hawks.
like the Kings and Warriors are both like 40, 6 and 36, and then these teams are like under 500. Um,
Yeah, it's so interesting how it worked. And I will say that at least like the besides these two, all the other teams are pretty like it's all like about 46 wins or more,
yeah.
which is crazy. That's so cool.
And then you got the
Um
bottom of the barrel right here. It's like, oh,
yeah.
great. Can't
But you
wait to
know
tune
what?
in.
I know, and when I look at it, I see a world where the Hawks could win because they have before, and they've won really close games this season. Trey Young is back, even though Dejounte was cooking without him. They're still below 500. It's tough, but I think I got to pick the Bulls just because I think they have more talent as it stands right now on their roster, and they've won some good games recently as well. They have DeMar DeRozan, Kobe White, most improved player possibly. Vucevic is solid. Ayo Dosunmu has been playing well. So
Io.
Alex Caruso, that's what I meant. I Ayo, just please forgive me, Ayo. Alex Caruso, Lakers legend. So I picked the Bulls beating the Hawks, especially because I think they're playing in Chicago, so they also have home court. So what do you think?
Yeah, I would say in general the East was harder than the West. I think this is probably the second closest game to pick for me. Um, And I went back and forth a little bit, but I did decide on the Bulls here. Because I actually think the Hawks play worse with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray than with just one of them. Trae Young just came back, recently. He's still kind of in ramp up mode. And I think that with him and DeJounte, who I know has a defensive reputation, he hasn't really been that on the Hawks, though.
Mhm.
I think of DeMar DeRozan delivering as he does. I think of call up whoever Trey Young is on in pick and roll, and then I'm gonna score on him 100 times in a row because that's what I do. He's up there for clutch play of the year. The Bulls are in a lot of close games, and I think uh, that's just a guy that I'll trust down the stretch here. And
Yep.
yeah, I think the Bulls will just kind of handle business. I mean, they just went to overtime with the Knicks in the last day of the season, who were playing for the 2 seed. So like the Bulls had nothing to play for. Like they were the 9 seed. It was, locked up and secured, but they were out there competing. So
Yeah. Yeah, I love that and excited for a Heat and Bulls rematch, right? Didn't they
Yeah,
play in the first?
his daughter, DeMar
Yeah,
DeRozan's
yeah,
daughter
a
was
revenge
his.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Or well, that was in Toronto,
Oh,
right?
you're right. You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah, because she wanted to go back because her friends because he
Yes,
lived in Toronto. But I was gonna
but
say that for the
then
last
they
game.
they played the Heat, right? Didn't they like they beat the Raptors when they played
No,
the Heat?
yes, it was for the seventh and eighth seed. It was Bulls Heat. Bulls won. Heat lost. So then Heat played Raptors. I think and Heat won
Would have
because
been,
Raptors lost in this.
but DeMar
Wait,
played the Raptors, and DeMar is not on the Heat.
so
So that was probably the 9-10 matchup, I would guess. The Bulls. I don't think the
in the
Bulls made the
Heat,
playoffs last year. Yeah, so
yeah.
I think it was Hawks Heat.
Oh my God.
Hawks win, and then Heat Bulls Raptors. Bulls win. Bulls Heat.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's probably what it was. There
Something
you
like
go.
that. People are like,
Yeah.
"What are you talking about, man?"
Okay, we had a moment, and now we're going to talk
We're back
about.
connected. We're
Now
back.
we're
We're back.
back. We're back. We're back. We were figuring out together. That was the thing. But all that matters, Heat and Bulls. Who do you have
Heat
in
and
Chicago?
Bulls
Wait,
in not
no,
Chicago, in
no, in
Miami.
Miami. In Miami. We're back.
In
We're back,
Miami.
baby. In Miami.
Uh, yeah, the Heat because I just think they will make the playoffs, and it's not going to be the first time. It got to be the second time because you can't go from finals to not in the playoffs. That would be crazy. Um, Especially when you have basically the same team.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I think, it, like the Bulls aren't a good team. They're just not as bad as the Hawks. So
yeah.
that's why I picked them the
They
last
kind
time.
of yeah. They have a bit more of a game plan and are cohesive because they've been a team gelled. I think a bit
Yeah, I mean,
longer.
Jimmy Butler maybe will care about basketball if his team's like on the brink of being
They will.
eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah.
And yeah, he can probably guard DeMar pretty well. Um, yeah, I don't know. There's not even a lot to say. I
I
don't
think, yeah.
imagine a world where the Bulls are the 8 seed and the Heat are not. It just doesn't make sense in my brain. So
Yeah, I agree with you. I had the Heat being the Bulls as well. So we're six
total
for six.
agreement. Wow.
Total agreement. I love that. That's great.
Boring.
Boring. We're not arguing. Don't worry, we're gonna argue about our playoff predictions. I know we are.
Oh
There's no
yeah.
way we're not. So that's
You
gonna be
don't
fun.
you don't have the Heat in the finals again? What's wrong?
It's like, well, interesting. Dom has the Lakers in the finals. Who would have thought that was
Dom
gonna
has the Clippers getting swept in the first
happen? 4-0?
round.
That's doesn't seem right. That's crazy. It's funny because I do. No, I'm
Ah,
kidding.
yes, you've already made your bracket, even though
Yeah,
we don't
I
know
actually
who the teams are.
I started, I put the so I have
Oh
the stand.
goodness.
Let's go over the standings
Let's go over the standings here.
just as we kind of have them as
Right.
at the end of this.
Oh
So
yeah, reveal the
um
jersey. Show it. Show it. Show it to us.
there we go. I'm getting a little warm, a little
Yeah, I am
toasty.
so warm right now, but I'm not wearing a basketball shirt under this, so you gotta keep it on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we always want you to take it off, never forget. So the West. We'll go over the West real quick. So we got the Thunder at the first seed. Congrats to them, by the way. I read that and I was like, that's crazy. Absolutely
Huge.
crazy. He's gonna
Huge.
win Coach of the Year. He's gonna
He
win Coach
won
of the Year.
he won the NBCA, National Basketball Coach Association Coach of the Year already.
Yeah, he's gonna win it. That's crazy. Nuggets second seed. Timberwolves third seed. Clippers fourth seed. Mavericks fifth seed. Phoenix Suns sixth seed. And now this is what we predict. We believe that the Lakers will be the seventh seed and the Warriors will be the eighth seed.
Yeah, so quick recap of the matchups. Thunder Warriors, Clippers Mavericks, Wolves Suns, Nuggets Lakers. That's what we think.
Yeah, that's insane. That's
That's
crazy.
that's
All
like
of those
four
are
great matchups. All right.
four super fun matchups. And now the East. I
Yeah,
have it all here, so I could just read it off.
sure.
Um, first seed, Boston Celtics. Second seed, New York Knicks. Crazy. Proud of them. Third seed, Milwaukee Bucks. Get well soon, Giannis. Fourth seed, Cleveland Cavaliers. Fifth seed, Orlando Magic. Sixth seed, Pacers. Seventh seed. This is our prediction. Seventh seed, 76ers. Eighth seed, Miami Heat.
Right, and that would leave us Celtics Heat in the first round,
Which
Cavs Magic,
another rematch. I just
another
have to say
rematch. Yeah.
another perfect, beautiful.
Cavs Magic, which probably is the least watched first round series for me
Yeah,
personally, if this breaks like this. Um, Bucks Pacers, which we that's great from this season. A lot of story there. We already kind of touched on that.
yeah,
And then Knicks 76ers, which I think could be very interesting
super.
with
Yeah,
Embiid, assuming he stays fully healthy and all that. So
yeah, and Mitchell Robin, like both of them back from injury, both back. That'd be
both
very.
fined by the NBA.
That's crazy. Well, I'm just super excited now. All I
Oh
want to do
yeah,
is keep talking playoffs and stuff, but that's
absolutely.
another
We'll
episode. We're
we'll
gonna
be
talk
here for
about
two
it.
more hours.
Yeah, I
We're
know
gonna.
for real.
I assume, yeah. So next time we'll get into these playoff matchups that we just read off to you here. Of course, after the play-in tournament, so we'll actually know who the seventh and eighth seeds are for each conference, and I think Dom and I will basically, he said he already started working on it. I've been thinking about mine as well, but we're gonna start forming our playoff brackets. We do this every year. It's been a tradition of ours. We send each other our playoff brackets. We draw little brackets and we're like, okay, this team wins in this many games. And then, it's super wrong every year, but that's how it goes. I think last year I had Bucks Suns in the finals. That's not what happened. Um, so,
Yeah, I had
we'll
something similar. It was ridiculous.
we'll kind of have our brackets ready to go probably in 3 or 4 days here after the
Yep.
play tournament is over, and we'll record another episode because playoffs start Saturday. So like we got to get it out there so new people
Yeah.
know our predictions.
We'll do playoff talk. That's going to be very in depth because not probably a lot of news is not going to happen. This was a lot of news
A
end of the
lot of
season
news,
type
a lot of
things.
news. 2 weeks
Uh,
worth.
yeah, but this one will be mostly about the playoffs.
Let's look at the playoffs,
Getting
break
ready.
down the matchups, why we think what we think. Well, maybe we'll have our own bracket each, and we'll try to make a bracket together. We'll see if we can, you
We'll
know,
see if we can agree.
yeah, we'll see what that looks like. Because if we don't agree on something, we'll have to argue our points. We'll debate. We didn't really argue a
Yeah,
lot in this show. We just agreed on everything.
that this one was boring.
Boring.
Next episode our friendship will be tested. So come back to watch that unfold.
Episode 33, friendship tested.
Who's a good number 33? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Boom. One of the goats.
Yes.
Perfect. I think our best episode yet coming up. Find out.
Every episode's our best episode. This is our best episode, and next episode that's going to be our best episode
That's
because we get better every time we do this.
exactly that was gonna be my thing. I was like, because next one's gonna be better than this one. Anyways, that's just how it goes because we're professionals, obviously. But I wanted to say personally, thank you for listening to this podcast. If you made it all the way through, like Damon said in the beginning, thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Or please tell people about it if you like it.
Engage with us.
Engage. Just text me and say your Lakers are going down, and I'll say we'll see about that.
You'll say, did
Uh,
you like it though? Did you like the pod?
but did you like it? Yeah, yeah. But did you like it? Did you leave a comment? Did you? But as is tradition, Damon's gonna do his backwards shot real quick. So I'm gonna let him kind of square up,
Let me cook.
let him cook. All right, and it's off,
Uh,
and it went
it was
behind the
so
door.
accurate. It was so accurate. It was perfectly lined up. I just threw it behind the door. I threw it too hard.
Yeah, no, it's
Um,
perfect. You missed it on purpose so the crowd could get free chicken. That's what
right.
happened.
That's what. Thank you. Tying it all. Life comes full circle, guys. It comes full circle. That's how it goes here
It's
on
always
the
the
table.
Lion King here. It's always about the Lion King.
I hate Lion
Um,
King. Is that a hot
I
take?
I, I love it. It's a hot take. Okay, now our friendship's over. That
I
was
don't
it.
like it because it's based on Hamlet. Is that a silly reason to not like it?
I love Hamlet. You don't like
I love
Hamlet?
Hamlet, and
Yeah.
that's why I
So
don't like the Lion King because
okay,
it's like
you
it's
can't
like
bring this up at the end of the
it's
episode
like
that you
it's like
don't.
Disney taking a play that has already existed for hundreds of years,
Yeah.
making it into a kids movie, literally the same exact plot, and making billions of dollars off of it. Disney is Glenn Taylor, confirmed.
Good friend.
Give me my
Oh,
billions.
confirmed. That is a good friend. I was like, I don't think it's a good friend.
Disney is Glenn Taylor. They want their billion.
They want they're the guy on the corner like
Where are my
where are my
billions?
billions at? Where are my billions at? I'm just looking for my billions. But again, thank you for listening to just us yammering away. We appreciate it
That's
more
what
than
we
you
do.
know. It's what we do.
Professional
And
yammerers.
professional always. And uh just want to say that this has been an episode of Two Man Game with Damon and Dom.
Buckets.